think he's either going to win on the bridle or he will finish tailed off. This is it, the first Cheltenham Festival preview. We're going to be previewing the Tuesday, and it's all come down to this months and months of studying. Andrew, we're finally here. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels great. I've been buzzing for these videos actually probably for the last 11 and a half months since we wrapped up in mid-March last year. Obviously it's been a tricky enough year with all of us in lockdown for large parts of it, and this is something to really look forward to. My dad's taking the week off next week. Me and him will be residing in the attic just with our buttocks completely on the couch, and won't be moving. We've told everyone that to not disturb unless there's food going. Do not disturb, and we're going to really look forward to it together. It's something to do with the family, I suppose, and get you out of the rut of lockdown.
You were in a smart shirt when we started this call. I came on, I wanted to dress for Cheltenham. I've not dressed for Cheltenham since Gold Cup last year. In fact, I've not dressed nicely or smart since the Gold Cup day last year. So I'm glad you got the memo. You quickly ran off and got the blazer, and I think we're ready now. As always, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you've never seen us before and you do enjoy the content, please make sure you hit that like button. As always, it's a massive help to the channel, helps us reach a wider audience. A little disclaimer, our final selections will be on Twitter the day before racing. A lot can change between now and the start of the Tuesday, ground concerns as well, and that could impact the selections. So final selections on Twitter. If you want to follow us, all the links will be down in the description. Let's move on. Let's start. I'm so excited for this. At the 2 mile Supreme Novices hurdle to kick us off.
Yeah, I think there's no point getting away from the top of the market in this. I think Appreciated seems like, I can't believe he's not 5-1 given the fact that every man and dog seems to want to take him on. I don't know why on earth that they would want to. I think he brings the strongest form to the table. I think the ground concerns are being played up. He's only ran once on decent ground before in Ireland, and he won a Grade 2 bumper by 8 lengths. So I don't think he's actually going to be too bad on a better surface. In fact, it might enhance his chances. The likes of Ballyadam and Blue Lord have it to find on his Irish form, and maybe they might get a little bit closer on better ground, but I can't see it. And then you've obviously got Metier and Soaring Glory. I just don't understand it with Soaring Glory. It's as if people don't get the memo on the Betfair hurdle. Like, if you threw any of these horses in the Betfair hurdle of 133, they'd all have won it the way he won it. Like, you could have sent actually all you could have sent horses in Ireland that aren't good enough to run in the Supreme, the Master McShees of the world, in the Betfair hurdle of 133, and he'd won it the way Soaring Glory did it. And yet there's shrewd enough people out there that are backing him for the Supreme, and I can't understand it whatsoever. I think Appreciated will hopefully get the Irish and favourite backers off to a good start. I'd wait till the day to back him. You might get a bit of a better price with some bookies trying to take him on. And if you don't want to back the favourite, I'd back Blue Lord each way at 12-1. For every Duvan, there's a Shane's Hill running up the hill behind him in second. So he might be the Shane's Hill, and Appreciated, fingers crossed, is the Duvan.
Yeah, I agree with Soaring Glory. I think Appreciated would have won the Betfair hurdle by 20 lengths if he was off 133. So look, it was impressive, and he's probably got decent each way claims. I can understand that angle, but I don't think he's going to beat Appreciated. I would fancy Appreciated. We're going to start hopefully together in arms with a winner. He's beaten all of his main Irish rivals. I can't see how Ballyadam reverses the form. He came there to challenge last time out at the Dublin Racing Festival, and it still didn't happen. That you could argue that the good ground would potentially suit Ballyadam more, but I don't think it would take anything away from Appreciated's chances. He'll definitely be ridden more prominently to ensure a good gallop. He'll probably kick on early because I know he stays, and the British, I'm happy to admit this, it's a weak division. Excluding Metier, obviously he's won a Grade 1. I'm not sure that was the strongest run race in the world, and Shake 'em Up Harry was distant down the field in the Betfair hurdle, and he finished second to him. Nicky Henderson's got a great record in the race, and Duzart unfortunately is injured. Likewise with Fernie Hollow, and Fernie Hollow was the only one to beat him in the bumper last year. So there's not a horse of that calibre up against him this year. I think it's really, really weak. The Channel Palmer's also produced some good winners in the past. Champagne Fever, Vitor, Classical Dream, they all won. They all went on to win this. So I'm not doubting he's probably not the quickest horse in the field. I don't think he's slow. Willie Mullins has been surprised. I think he stays. And you need a stayer to win the Supreme Novices Hurdle. So I'm in agreement. I wouldn't even look at an each way angle. I think Appreciated It will win the first, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I think you're bang on there. Look, the one thing I just want to throw into the mix that nobody has discussed, I just think if Connections, now I know the thing has changed a little bit now because Ballyadam's now in the care of Henry de Bromhead, but if in Ireland they really thought Appreciated was as vulnerable as some people believe he is, I wonder why Big Bob Ollinger wouldn't rock up in a Supreme. Like, he's got very similar form in terms of the only horse that's beat him is Fernie Hollow. He's not short on speed whatsoever, I don't believe. And if Connections really thought the race was soft, like up against Gallard de Menil and Brave Man's Game is going to be a tough race. I'm sure we'll get onto that in the day 2 preview. And if you really thought Appreciated was windy, I just believe you'd have taken him on, but they haven't gone and done so, and it'll be interesting to see. But I do think Appreciated is rock solid.
Interesting, both together in the first. It'll be interesting to see if we're together in the second race. Given your love for Willie Mullins, it's the Arkle, and I'm siding with Shishkin. He's a Supreme winner who probably shouldn't have won the Supreme that he won. Everything went wrong. He's taken defences very, very well, and look, you can potentially crab his form. Nothing in this country wants to go near him, and he can only beat what's in front of him, and he's done that very impressively. He's probably the highest rated in the race, off a mark of 162. That's pretty irrelevant in a Grade 1, and Nicky Henderson's got a brilliant record. I think if it's quicker ground, it will suit him slightly more, but I think he acts on soft. And I can just see All Mankind going off. Don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's on the same level as these two. He's going to set it up perfectly for Shishkin to pounce late. I think he's got too many gears for Enigmine. And yeah, I'm going to side with Shishkin. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's hard to get away from Shishkin. I think probably the two flaws in the two top horses, like from a Shishkin perspective, is that obviously at Doncaster he made one or two little niggling mistakes early in the race, and they are going to go off helter-skelter in this, as you alluded to, with All Mankind. So he wouldn't want to put in too bad of a mistake early doors and find himself too far back. The more drying days that come on, though, can't suit this Energumene whatsoever. I think he's a real soft, heavy ground horse. I know people will say that he won his point-to-point on good ground in England, but that was a dismal point-to-point. I actually looked into the form of the race. Not a single one of the horses he beat is even running under rules now, which is never a great sign of things. So you've got to base him on his rules form, and his rules form would indicate he does enjoy getting his toe in. I've tried to avoid making a call between these two all year, and I'm not going to stop doing that now. My cop-out has been backing Captain Guinness each way all year, and I believe as much as he's got an awful lot to find on the top two, I think he's better than All Mankind, and I think a bit of better ground might suit him. And just in case something happened, and there's a bit of a bust up, a bit of a boil over in the Arkle, I think he might be the one that might pay to be on at 16-1. He was running a super race in the Supreme last year. It was very unfortunate to be brought down. It showed that he does go at the track. He wasn't overawed by the occasion in any way. He is a bit of a buzzy sort, but I think if he can get into a rhythm, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was to fill in the places. And if something was to happen to the top two, he might be the one to pick up the pieces.
Somehow Seven Barrows have this thing where they can have one world-class two-miler, and as he's coming to the end of his career, another one comes around, and just when the tide might be turning with Altior, it could be Shishkin's turn.
So we move on to the Ultima Handicap Chase, the first handicap of the week, and often one of the most tricky ones as an Irish punter. The Irish don't have a good record in the race. Does that stop me backing Irish horses in the race? Usually it doesn't, no. But it is one of the trickier ones, Josh. And I suppose there looks to be a few horses that seem to be well handicapped. A few have come in for support. The likes of Happy Go Lucky, who's gone into favourite this week for Kim Bailey. Kim obviously had Imperial Aura win the Novices Handicap, and he's not dissimilarly being campaigned, this horse Happy Go Lucky. Would you be siding with him, or would you be looking for something at a bigger price?
I think this is a race where you do have to look at the head of the market. I do think that Remastered, if he goes here, has a good chance. I think Happy Go Lucky, if he goes here, has a good chance. But the one I'd be siding with is Lieutenant Rocco. I'm a firm believer that this horse is very good. I was excited by him when he was at Tizards. I think 3 miles brought the best out of him last time. I think he could go from the front, could jump them into submission, potentially a 155, 160 horse this time next year. When people talk about novices and horses that don't have much experience coming into these big handicaps, I think from horses that go from the front and that's their style of running, I don't think it comes into it as much because there's not going to be as much hustle and bustle. He could go and face Monkfish, but we all know what the easier task would be.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'd be similar enough on Lieutenant Rocco. I was quite sweet on him. The only thing that I'd bear in mind, and if you were backing him right now, I'd back him non-runner, no bet, because I know that Nick Mitchell holds this horse in very high regard, probably the best horse he has in his care, and just wouldn't surprise me if they kind of go for the Grade 1 and just see where it might take them, just in terms of a handicap. I always remember Robbie Parr saying on our Duke won the Irish Grand National as a novice back in the day, and he said that he lined up our Duke in 3rd or 4th, and as a result, Arduke felt, as a horse, it might as well have been a 4-runner race, not a 28-runner big handicap. He didn't see any other horses. So if, as you say, I think that's a good point to make. If you're just bowling along out in front and you're not getting in amongst the hustle and bustle, you'd be a little bit more kind of cautious with that type of horse if it needed to be delivered late. And the Ultima in years gone by has suited horses that have been able to get into a rhythm on the front end. So that's where I'm thinking with him. Another horse who might be just a little bit handicapped out of it, but I think will run an honest race, is I Right for Harriet Graham, who's danced every dance this year. Second in the Ladbrokes Chase to Cloth Cap, who looks a very big contender for the Grand National.
Before he ran at the weekend, I was hoping they didn't go there. I was hoping they went for this, and I'd have been all over him. And now looking at it in hindsight, as we can all do, he'd have been well in.
Yeah, exactly. It was interesting. Probably they just thought the Kelso race would give them another week or two to freshen them up for the Grand National. But I Right came second in that race. He was second in the Sky Bet Chase at Doncaster last time out. He's off 154, which is a tough ask. But he's 12 or 14 to 1, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him run an honest race from the front and finish in the frame.
One of those maybe horses that we love on this channel, it seems. Let's move on to the Champion Hurdle, the feature race on day 1 of the Cheltenham Festival. What a race this could be. I think about at the start of the season it looked like it would be a walkover for Epatante. She was so impressive at Newcastle, but looking back on that now, Silver Streak was carried out. Maybe she was just flattered by that happening. She was put in a place, or not put in a place, but was very disappointing in the Christmas hurdle. Honeysuckle won the Hat and Grace, then won the Irish Champion Hurdle, and she was electric doing so. And Goshen, a no-show in the International Hurdle, suddenly out of nowhere, well, not out of nowhere, we always knew he had the ability, but he was back to his very best at Wincanton, jumped from the front, looked very impressive, and I think his jumping's come on a heck of a lot. Really mouth-watering prospect. There's some good each-way chances as well. Sharjah, Aspire Tower, Abacadabras. It looks like a hot Champion Hurdle, something we've not had for a while. I think a couple of years ago we thought we'd have one with Lorena, Bouvedere and Apple's Jade. Unfortunately, that never materialised, and everything went wrong for all three of them. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can have that Champion Hurdle that we so desire. Who are you going to be siding with? Because it's competitive at the top of the market.
Oh, it's very competitive, and it hopefully should be a great race, and you'd like to see as many of these horses run their race as possible. I think Honeysuckle, though, brings the best recent form to the table, winning the Irish Champion Hurdle. I thought she was electric that day. She jumped super. She jumped a lot more like a 2-miler. She didn't really look like she was a 2-miler last year. She jumped a bit high, looked like she needed a fence, actually. And I still think she'd actually become a brilliant chaser if they ever went down that path. She was a little bit disappointing, I thought, in the Hatton's Grace on reappearance, beating Ronald Pump a half length. I think if the race was another 50 yards, Ronald Pump would have come and beaten her. But she was super in the Irish Champion Hurdle. She's been a mare I've struggled to get right, but she keeps defying me, and I do believe there's sometimes a time where you just have to hold your hands up and go against it. Looking at the rest of the market, if I'm being honest, I reckon Epatante's a shade big, actually, in comparison especially to the likes of a Goshen. I know these mares can have in and out days. Epiton's no different than that. She's had 2 stinking runs in her life, and the rest of them she's been absolutely superb. I would have more difference in the market between Epiton 7-2, Goshen 4-1. Goshen was super at Wincanton, but I can't back him at 4s. If he was still 7-1 or something, yeah, I could make a decent case for backing him at that, but I think he's short enough, and he's going to get a contested lead. There's an awful lot of competition for the pace. Silver Streak, Not So Sleepy, Aspire Tower will all be jostling, and as a result, I'm hoping Honeysuckle is sitting in 5th or 6th and pounces to win, but the one I'd be also backing each way, unfortunately won't have Patrick Mullins on board him, is Sharjah. I just think he's brilliant at Christmas and he's always bad at the Dublin Racing Festival, and yet people always over-exaggerate with his bad runs at Leopardstown. He's run a couple of nice races at Cheltenham before, obviously second in the Champion Hurdle last year. I think the strong pace will really suit this horse, and he might be the type to be running on late past beaten horses, and could well be filling the frame, and I think actually at 14-1 is too big. So Honeysuckle, hopefully, for Henry de Bromhead and Kenny Alexander and obviously Rachel Blackmore, who've put an awful lot into the game in recent years. Hopefully she does the business, but wouldn't surprise me to see Sharjah run a big race at a big price.
This is getting silly. I think we're going to put up 4 of the same horses. I'm convinced with Goshen. I think he's either going to win on the bridle or he will finish tailed off. I don't think there's an in-between. I think if it turns into a battle, a scrap, I don't think he's got it in him. The 5-year-old record in the race is poor. He looks a freak. There's no doubting that. And if he is absolutely A1, he's got a huge chance. I just think there's so many things that could go wrong, especially with the pace angle like you mentioned. Yeah, I think Honeysuckle was so impressive at Leopardstown in the Irish Champion Hurdle. She's jumped much better than I've ever seen her jump, and there was doubting whether her jumping would stand the test of time over 2 miles. It did that day, and if she can put a round in like that, I don't think anything's going to beat her. I think she's got stamina, she likes Cheltenham, and I think she's going to take the world of beating in the Champion Hurdle. At an each way price, I'll probably put Abacadabras in there. I think he'll finish in the first 3. He travelled well in the Supreme last year. A strong run Champion Hurdle would suit him, and I think that he could be in the places. The scary thing about this is I think we're going to be in agreement on the next one as well. The Mayor's Hurdle, Concertista for me, won the Mayor's Novices Hurdle. She's a second season novice. I think it always helps when you're a second season novice, especially for a mare, because it gives them more time to sort of fill out their frame and develop. She actually lost a maiden tag in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle last year. So unbeaten this season, impressive what she's done. Willie Mullins' superb record, and I just think that she wins. In fact, I'd probably make her the best chance of a winner on the first day. The price is reflective, she's short, but I just don't see what beats her.
I'm not quite as bullish in terms of, like, obviously I wouldn't be laying her or anything, but I don't know with Concertista. Again, these mares aren't just quite as straightforward as just point and shoot. An awful lot of them are, and she's just... She lights up around Cheltenham. Yeah, she's probably going to win this race. Would I be absolutely rushing in to back her at even money? Probably not. Instead, I've backed Black Tears at bigger prices for this race. I think she's a lot to find with the favourite, obviously, but the rest of the field, I don't think she has too much to find. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Roxana, whether they're going to run her in this or the Stairs Hurdle. It looks like this. But I'm not convinced that Cheltenham's really her track. I know she has won a Mayor's Hurdle, but that was gifted to her given the fall of Benny de Jew. And she sometimes flashes her tail under pressure as well, which I wouldn't like. Dame de Compagnie, coming back from fences, I don't really like that at all. Verdana Blue, I couldn't be having at all. I think she's not maybe the mare she used to be. So Black Tears, you can still get 14-1 about her. It wouldn't surprise me at all if she's a single figure price on the day and she runs into the frame. She's got great festival form. Needs to tidy up her jumping a little bit, but I've backed her at bigger prices, and I'm quite glad to be taking a bigger price rather than maybe just steaming in on an odds-on shot. We move on to the next handicap, and the first handicap hurdle of the festival, the Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. Used to be the Fred Winter, I think it's still in the Fred Winter name. Used to be on the Wednesday of racing, now it's on the Tuesday in the place of the Novice Handicap, which unfortunately is no longer with us, even though being one of the greatest races of the whole week. But the Boodles, always a head scratcher. These juveniles, very hard to predict. Josh, try and dissect it for our viewers, please.
You've still not got over that, have you? Yeah, it's a race I wouldn't have an opinion on. It's going to be one I'm going to wait for the very last minute. I wouldn't be siding with Saint Sam. I don't think he's got too much to work with off 139. And when the Irish handicap weights did come out, I thought Hugh Gree, given 129, given his reputation and the race that he started out in last time, it's interesting. Throws a spanner in the works. I'd still probably leaning towards Bustleton and Riviere de Tel. I can't really pick one out of the other at the moment. I like the fact that Riviere de Tel has ran against the Rousers and she was impressive on her first win. And Bustleton has got a really nice profile. He's finished second behind some top juveniles that are going to go very close in the Triumph, and Joseph O'Brien's got a good record in this. So it'd be between those two for me at the moment. I might reconsider to see what Paul Nicholls says in some of the Betfair previews about Hugh Gree. But yeah, I think I'd be leaning towards Bustleton out the two, but that's very much up in the air. What about you?
Yeah, well, it's my daily dose of Druid's Ultra bias on these videos. People don't need to... the 16,000 people that watched the handicap video, which is an incredible figure, by the way, will know that I'm quite sweet on this Druid's Ultra. You can still get 14 to 1. The thing I can't understand is the Dennis Hogan horse he beat, Sofanian, is 8 to 1. And Druid's Ultra is 14 to 1. And I know there's a £5 swing in the weights, but Sofanian's a bit of a monkey, and I thought Druid's Ultra was more than enough for £5, I must say, at Naas. I think he's a really progressive, nice, bonny horse, jumps well. And the best thing about this horse that I think will stand to him in the Boodles is that he's a professional horse for his age. And you have to remember, these are 4-year-olds. Half of the field still can't jump that great. That last year they went off a mad gallop that was completely unsustainable. And as a result, half the field are almost just losing from the start. Last year, Aramax won the race. He was quite a professional horse, jumped very slickly. And I think this Druid's Ultra has a similar enough profile. He's battle-hardened. He knows his job well. There might be something in there, the likes of a Hugh Gree, that might just have a bit more potential to him. And I'm not saying for a second the Druid's Ultra is probably the best horse in this race going forward. But on the day, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was to run a real hard race. And at 14 to 1, I think he's a big price.
You've waited all this time. I'm surprised you didn't mention him in the intro.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a real shame because we don't have latest exhibition to go on about. I don't even have Discorama to mention in the Ultima this year, which seems a shocker. So I have to get some of my Cliff horses in early doors.
We definitely have heard that, Andrew, don't worry. But I do think he's got a good chance as well. And Joseph O'Brien has got a very good record in the race. We move on then to the final race of the day. At this point, when you're on course, it's a bit ropey, and you're just hoping that you can make it out alive. We are going to talk about the National Hunt Chase. Two horses at the top of the market. Galvin. We're going to preview this as if Royal Pagaille is running and isn't. First, we'll preview if he is. I still would fancy Galvin. I'm not convinced on Royal Pagaille whatsoever. I think the form at Haydock is pretty average. Did it very impressively, but Venetia Williams expected him to do it so impressively. Still up in the air whether he'll go to the Gold Cup. I just don't think beating Potter's Legend by a very convincing margin is up to much. Galvin's got plenty of form, has been put away for this, so there's no hiding that. I think they told us back in October that this was the horse for the 4 miler, and we've not seen him since. He was a second season novice again, second in the Novices Handicap Chase. We won't mention that one. Last year, and Cheltenham form, good jumper. Would prefer quicker ground, but I'm not sure that's an absolute necessity. Second in the Novice Handicap Chase last year, like I mentioned, on soft. So I would just side with him regardless against Royal Pagaille. If Royal Pagaille was to run, do you think that you could be swayed given the fact that they've bypassed the Gold Cup for a race like this?
Yeah, no, I can't be. I must say this National Hunt Chase is just a breaker of good horses, and I had my fingers burnt last year badly on Carefully Selected, who in theory was the best horse in the race, and I just don't know about this Royal Pagaille. Look, as you said, he couldn't have been more impressive in the Peter Marsh at Haydock, but you have to bear in mind the second favourite that day, Sam's Adventure, who actually went on to win the Eider. last week, unseated down the back. So you'd assume he'd have come second in the race and probably given the favourite a bit more to do than the likes of a Potter's Legend would have, who's as old as the hills at this stage as well. So look, he did it super, but the form of that race is nothing special. And I just don't think... There's an awful lot of unknowns with Royal Pagaille still. You know, will he stay 3-6? Will he go on better ground? Probably being a more prudent question to ask. And I just don't know. You're not going to get any price to be taking the risk. You know, you're going to be getting probably 5-4, 6-4 if he runs in the race, I think. And that's a sure price to be taking risks in a 3-mile 6 race around Cheltenham. I'm not actually a massive fan of Galvin either. This would be a little bit like the Boodles for you. I don't have a massive say in the race. All year I've been campaigning for Gordon Elliott to either run Pencil Full of Lead or Ascaria 10 in the race. If either of them were to turn up, I'd give them a big chance. Especially Ascaria 10 probably. But he's the Ultima option and may well run in the Ultima because the sponsors of the race are the owners of Ascaria 10, so that's something to bear in mind. But if either of them ran, I'd give them a chance. But if neither of them ran, I'd probably be scratching my head in the race because I'm not a massive fan of the two favourites.
I've spoken to Adrian Hesketh, and he said that they would be leading towards the National Hunt Chase. So a little nugget for you there. I do think that he'll go for this race as well. So there we go. Interesting. First day out the way. Hopefully you have enjoyed just going through it. I would back Appreciate It, Shishkin, Lieutenant Rocco, Honeysuckle, Concertista. Not sure on the Boodles, but potentially Bustleton and Galvin. What about yourself?
Yeah, Appreciate It, Captain Guinness each way, Lieutenant Rocco as well, Honeysuckle, Black Tears each way, Druid's Altar each way, and Ascaria 10 if he was to turn up for the National Hunt Chase.
Hopefully we've got plenty of winners there. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the week on the Let's Talk Racing channel. If you do enjoy this video, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Wednesday preview.